Welcome to session 18. It is now 3 a.m. here in Nice, and we are turning to the beautiful Philippines, reefs of the Philippines. The Philippines lies at the heart of the Coral Triangle, home to the richest coral reef biodiversity on the planet. In this session, we'll explore how local NGOs and foundations are leading efforts to understand reef ecosystems under threat from bleaching, storms, and pollution.
So we're going to talk about various things, about pollution, for example, but also restoring degraded coral habitats. We'll see some innovative, inclusive techniques. Also build strong ties with coastal communities. It's something recurring all through the sessions, as you've seen. And develop community-based economies, including sustainable ecotourism and fisheries when it's possible. So to help us move through this session at 3 a.m. in the morning here in Europe, let's go to the Philippines with a strong team, the stream of Sulubay with Frédéric, Nicole here and Laure, but also with Nicole, who is working with Blue Alliance Marine Protected Areas in the Philippines, but currently in Indonesia. Hello, everyone. Welcome here. Thank you for being with us. It seems that the sun is shining in the Philippines. Good for you. Here, I don't know when the sun will rise. We'll see. I propose that first we can jump with your work, Nicole. And Nicole, you've done a little video to introduce your work. So let's go for this video, and then you can follow up on that. All good?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nicole, a marine biologist working to identify potential coral thermal refugia in the Philippines. And here's a glimpse into a typical day in the field. The day starts early, as we head to the dive center with all the equipment to meet the rest of the team. We then conduct 2 dives, retrieving temperature loggers and carefully collecting coral fragments for thermal stress testing. Back at the port, we load the samples and head to the lab, where we set up the Coral Bleaching Automated Stress System, or CBAS. Over the next 24 hours, we monitor temperature and measure the coral's fluorescence as a proxy for their bleaching response. After the run, we clean up, reset the system, and prepare for the next cycle. Fieldwork can be long and demanding, but it's worth it if we want to understand how to conserve our reefs in a warming world.
Thank you, Nicole. And I'm talking about Nicole this time. So, Nicole, can you follow up on your video?
Yeah, of course. So I'll start by briefly introducing myself. So I'm from Colombia. I'm a Colombian biologist. I got my degree in 2022. And since I graduated, I started working a little bit with corals, more from the AI side of ed. I work with a small startup in the Netherlands. So that's how it all kind of started. And we also started to get involved with citizen science programs around the world. And I think it kind of just put everything together in the matter that I feel like the general public can also help with marine conservation. And we definitely need to all together work in this. So that's kind of been my path. And I think that's also why I chose to do my master's program in MarWorld, because it kind of like has a little bit of an interdisciplinary approach. So I've always been in the marine field and kind of like focused on corals, but not only from the biology side of it and the strictly scientific way of seeing it, but a little bit more broad. And that's actually what took me to this project at the end of the day, because 1 year ago, I was doing an internship with Blue Alliance in the Philippines, and we were trying to develop a citizen science program to monitor the reefs there because they're quite healthy. It's very beautiful. It also brings a lot of tourists. So we were trying to figure out a quite integral and how do we put this, like inclusive way of monitoring the reefs. And that's when we noticed that these reefs were kind of resilient, and my project is about trying to identify potential coral thermal refugia here. So actually, if we didn't have tourists noticing that the reefs are healthy, then we couldn't really even start this project. So That's kind of like what we are doing now, and that's kind of like what I'm doing now. And yeah, I think from now on in my career, I do want to focus in reefs, but I always want to keep that inclusive approach.
Okay,
So yeah,
so
that's what I'm doing.
so it means that you're relying on tourists, maybe also locals, to dive or snorkel on coral reefs. And for example, if there is an event of bleaching, that they can spot places where corals are not bleaching and they report this to you?
Yeah, yep, definitely. I think that's kind of like the brief way of saying it. I think citizen science is definitely not the solution for all the hard science that sometimes we have to do, but they're definitely really good early warning systems. They're the first people that notice the differences. You don't need scientific formation to see if the coral is going white. I think it's just in the scientists to also kind of like close this gap and avoid people getting scared of corals, like just coral phobia and science phobia. I think science is for everyone. So if we give them the means to just report, hey, something weird is going on here, then the scientists can go and check actually what's going on. So I do definitely think it's a very good tool.
And can you come back already on the experiment that you're doing?
So the experiment that I'm doing
of
now,
this experiment, because it's a little bit crazy.
yeah, so the context is last year we were trying to bring this project together, but we had the fourth global mass bleaching event going on, but I saw no bleaching. So the preliminary surveys that we were doing for this citizen science monitoring were all no bleaching. When, for example, our colleague Chloe was in the Seychelles and she was seeing how everything was dying. So that brought interest into why the corals were not bleaching. And what we found is that this area probably has internal wave gravity activity, which kind of refreshes the reef. So basically what happens is the cold water from the depth is brought to the shallower waters, and then it goes down again. So we have these peaks of low temperature of only 15 minutes, but it actually refreshes the reef. So on one hand, you see how the degree heating weeks actually decreases. And also this kind of like temperature variation is, we still don't know if it's maybe genetic or if it's acclimation, or it could even be environmental memory to thermal stress. So there are still many possibilities into why the corals are not bleaching, but reality is that they are more thermal tolerant from what we're seeing. So now kind of like the next step would be to see why.
I remember last year when I think it's Crystal was following your work. Yeah. When Crystal was following your work, is that she was telling me that all the students everywhere on coral reef were mentioning that the corals were bleaching, but not you.
Yeah.
We can go to Chloe, Fred, and Laura now. If you're ready to talk about we're gonna have difficulties to have everyone in the frame at once. Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. So same for you, Chloe. So you're at Dubai, and we'll start with a little video of you doing a lot of weird stuff underwater.
This is Pangatalan Island, located in Shark Fin Bay near Palawan in the Philippines. A 4-hectare little paradise. But it wasn't always like this. 15 years ago, Pangatalan was devastated. Overfishing and exploitation had stripped its mangroves, shattered its reefs with dynamite, and depleted fish stocks. With local support, Sulubai created the first marine protected area, replanted mangroves, and restored coral reef. Fish populations recovered, new MPAs were created, educational programs launched, and locals were trained as divers, including a team of Bantai Dagat, now protecting the MPA network day and night. And this is me, Chloe, a master's student in marine conservation, lucky enough to join this adventure. I'm working on an innovative project, the installation of an ecological corridor, a series of 17 pyramidal-shaped artificial structures designed to connect Pangatalan's fringing reef with a distant patch reef. The goal is to create a pathway for reef fish to colonize the patch reef, boosting resilience and enhancing the spillover effect of the MPA. Although full connectivity will take time, the first results are impressive. The corridor is already attracting life, acting as a nursery for juvenile fish. Sulubai integrates international expertise and local knowledge to restore ecosystems, promote sustainable resource use, and empower communities. It's laying the groundwork for locally managed protection of the bay, and I'm glad to have been able to contribute to its growth. Until then, see you all at UNOC when the journey goes on.
Thank you. So for the video, Chloe, so can you elaborate on that, and then we'll give the floor to Fred and Laura for the context of Sulubai.
Yeah, sure. Elaborate on my background first, video, or what?
Your background first, if you want. Yes, you can.
Okay. So for my background, I haven't had at all a linear path. So I did a bachelor in neuropsychology first, so very different from marine conservation. At this stage, I wanted to study ethology, so the animal behavior science. And then I did a break in my study. I went to travel a little bit around, and I realized that I was more interested into conservation, like field work, basically. So I had a few professional experience in the field, and then I get closer to the marine world, and I found mares, and so I was a bit like taking all the opportunity on my path. And yeah, I really don't regret anything about it, and I think it's quite a good example of we can change our way pretty much any time in our life if we want to. So yeah, this is the background and how I ended up here. Maybe Frederic can introduce himself, or
yeah, Frederic and Chloe, a good idea. Yes.
Hello, I'm Fred. I'm French guy from Marseille, and 15 years now I live on this place, Pangatalan Island. And my personal challenge, I don't have any background of science, of marine biodiversity, nothing. I'm just an ocean lover, and my challenge is to prove the role of the civil society. If it's possible, the human can change the tenants, can improve something. And my goal is really to find a simple solution, always with the community, to fight the decrease of the marine resource. I give the power and the stage. Oh.
Hello, my name is Laura. I'm French as well. We have a French team here, but actually we have many Filipino in the team.
yeah.
So I've been working with Sulubai for 5 years now, and I'm really happy to find this place because with Fred, it's really possible to always innovate in a very simple way, and we can really. It's the best platform here to try some things. And what is great is we really work with the community and together with the scientific community as well. And it's really the best place to work well together with science and community. And here in our super small territory, we really did a lot in only 5 years, creating many MPAs and experimenting many things. So I'm really happy to be here.
On that, Fred, Laure, so maybe first, what's the size of the island and the area around, and can you come back on a kind of a historic on what has been done since your arrival?
At the beginning, the island was totally devastated because it's like a pirate site for overfishing, dynamite fishing, cyanide catch for the fish, all the big shells for the pier. Like 10 people, a small community divested maybe 20 hectares. And the idea is to really to give the chance of this land to rebreathe. And we planted with my wife 75,000 of trees and create the first artificial reef. Just one idea to do something. without plastic, glue, anything, just the pressure. After Thomas was the first French guy help us to have a vision and to what we can do, because on the land is my job, but in the sea I don't have any background.
Can you come back on an idea of year, of time? When was it?
And January 4, 2011, we start to stay on the ground with under the tent during two years with a python, cobra, without water,
Tiger,
without electricity. It's like my personal Koh-Lanta experience, but it's a long trip. But it's a passion. It's really my best experience. It's my life to I don't create nothing to support the element. Is it possible or not to live in the wide place without anything? And after 3 years, we met Thomas. Thomas stayed with me during 2 years, and we imagined together the shape of the coral, of the artificial reef, to fight the destruction of the coral, because the reef is like that, and immediately it's nothing. And if you wait the time to the coral life to become at the same level, it's impossible. We need to adapt something in front of our degradation, in the slope, in the flat place. And after the coral is the first MPA, the second MPA, the third MPA.
Let's talk about that if we can. The MPAs, so there haven't been imagined like out of nowhere. It's a network of MPAs all around this island, but also with the neighboring communities.
Exactly. We are foreigner. We stay foreigner. If we don't, to the world, if you don't engage indigenous people in the committee, the result is zero. The science need money. If you don't have the money, the science stop anything. The community is their territory. They have the power to control, to protect, to involve something. Just they need some help from abroad, from outside, for the international finance. If you look at your face in the mirror, it's impossible to forget that. It's your mission. One time in your life, do something for the poor community.
Each time we have a discussion with Fred, it's inspiring. You're talking about communities at the center of everything. In an hour, we will be in Indonesia. And the co-founder of Coral Guardian will have really similar words on that. Maybe before I give the floor to you for the questions, because you have a lot of questions, I would like just to come back on you, Chloe. Come back on your project, where it all started, for you at least. And once again, what's the goal?
So as Frederic said before, the island was devastated. So there was the fish stock was very weak and depleted. So they started to do some restoration project, first with the SRP. So it's a Sulu reef prosthesis. It's what they have invented here in Sulu Bay. And a bit in the same way, continuation of the restoration project. Now we want to create an ecological corridor to connect two reefs. So it's the fringing reef of Pangatalan. So it's part of the first MPA that have been created here. And it's on this fringing reef, it's a place called the Garden, which is the richest part of the fringing reef of Pangatalan. And we want to connect it to a distant patch reef, which is 200 meters away. And on this patch reef called the Pinnacle, it has been some restoration project with the SRP, but the biodiversity is a bit slower to get more resilient and to come back to the initial state, let's say. So we want to bring a help to this reef to regenerate And so with this corridor, we hope that the biodiversity from the garden, we use the corridor, the fish, we use the corridor to pass from this richest part to the patch reef to accelerate connectivity, resilience, and in the meantime, the structure will create habitats as well, because it's also the goal of putting some artificial structure underwater. As soon as you put something in the water, the life appear, and it was actually very quick, and I didn't expect to see such a result that fast. But for now, what we have, it's the corridor is becoming a nursery. There is a lot of juvenile fish, and because we also installed some bio huts on the structure from Ecocean, and those cage shape thing. Maybe I have some picture if you want me to share.
Yeah, I can share.
I don't know how to.
As you share, maybe we can open the floor to
Yeah. I think we can open this. This is a really general question. I've done some work in the Philippines as well, and I kind of spoke to you both about that as well. But I want to know from your perspective, why the Philippines? Why are the corals so critical in the Philippines? What's so special about this region? Maybe Nicole first. I can see you thinking away.
I'm kind of thinking because, I mean, it's just like you're right in the middle of the coral triangle, you know, and just the biodiversity here, it's crazy, and all the different kind of dives that you can do. I think it's a very diverse marine environment. You can see all the way from like whale sharks, thresher sharks, turtles, mantas. Like there is just so much diversity here. So I think like, yeah, that's why the Philippines, it's just the best place to understand how the reefs can actually thrive, and it might even inspire us in other places where we're not doing so great. You know, like at the end, I'm Colombian, and I understand how bad the Caribbean reefs are doing as well. So I think if we understand why the corals are thriving in some areas here, then we can understand what we can do back home as well. But of course, I do know that my perspective of the Philippines is a very small area, which is the Verde Island Passage, which is one of the most biodiverse places. So I know it's not the case in all the Philippines.
And Chloe, how about you? Why the Philippines?
Oh, I was trying to share the screen.
I'm sorry, she's not ready yet.
Not showing the screen.
I was saying, I'm sorry.
Maybe you can concentrate all the fire on Nicole.
Well, I'm happy to do that with Nicole. No problem at all. Yeah. So Nicole, I know your project quite well. So what I would like to know as well is there any effect on the reproduction, despite there being no evidence of bleaching?
What do you mean reproduction?
Reproduction of corals. Was there any effect of temperature on the reproduction of corals, or is it something that you've not looked at?
Well, I haven't explored it, to be honest. So whether the corals reproduce more or more effectively, I have no clue. And I think it would definitely be something interesting to look at. I know in other organisms, temperature rises can definitely affect how much they reproduce. For example, with the turtles, I know it's quite a big problem, but I don't know how it's affecting the corals right now in this area.
Okay. I've got a burning question for Chloe.
For Chloe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chloe can't find anymore. Probably it's a fail for the screen share.
So Chloe, so the corridor is really impressive, and it's actually something similar that I've seen before, but on a very small scale, in Taiwan. I would like to know from kind of all three of you, has the restoration efforts at the artificial reefs actually led to like wider biodiversity benefits? Have we seen kind of natural recovery occurring elsewhere?
Yeah, so I think some study have been done to assess the result of the artificial reef here in Pangatalan, and it has been a real success. How many times? Like, what's the number?
I think we have done a survey since 2017 to 22, I think, and the survivorship was 76% of any coral fragment we add on the artificial structure. And then what is amazing is we noticed that some of the species, especially Acropora, which are very fast-growing species, we put it when they were 10 centimeters, and after 5 years, they are, I think, 60 centimeters, or like now it's more than 1 meter.
Yeah,
it's
now it's
a
really
half
big.
percent coral. So some are really successful, and there are now this big coral table that now it's when you pass through the artificial reef, actually, you don't notice too much the artificial reef itself, but you notice all the corals.
Covered.
It's
It's all
totally
covered.
growing over.
But the most important for this kind of restoration, the coral survive anytime. Is was there 1 million year before us, and I think in 1 million year after it will be there again. But the resource need habitat. Without habitat, the problem of the resource is to find habitat. For that, any action from the coral need a support. The support equals habitat for the biodiversity. And the human take the place on this habitat. It's time to get out, to stay quiet with something to do.
And about this, just for the corridor, the particularity of the corridor as well is that we didn't interact. We just put the structure in the water, which is an interaction. But I mean, it's not like the SRP. We're not going to put any coral on it or anything. We just do the nature do its job, and we observe. That's all what we do. So it's slightly different.
That will be amazing to observe any recovery of corals naturally across this corridor as well. And
it's interesting because to mark the site, we put some concrete blocks at the end and at the start, and to just tie a rope to delimit the site anyway. But on those concrete blocks, there is already coral recruit appearing on it without doing anything. So,
after how long again?
After 3 months.
Wow.
It was after.
Do you know what species there are, the spat?
I think it's Sporitus.
Okay. Good. Very nice. Yeah.
It's your topic, yeah, you can.
Can grill. All right, let's come back to Nicole then. Obviously, a big part of your project, community-based.
Sorry?
Yeah, a big part of your project is it's community-based. A lot of tourists. Is it tourist or community?
Well, by project, that was not fully community-based. I think that was kind of like what inspired it last year. So I think it was kind of like two different moments. So what inspired us was from last year, trying to come up with a citizen science project that would monitor the reefs. And of course, a proper citizen science program would kind of involve the community, but also tourists, because it's a very touristic area. And I think definitely involving the community is super important, but I definitely think that the diving industry could also be a great hand for these kind of things. So that's kind of like what inspired it. If we have more eyes in the water, then we can actually tell the scientists, like, please go here because something is going wrong, or please go to this site because it's not doing wrong and we want to find out why. So this project wasn't community-based. We are working with the community. We have a Filipino dive master collecting the corals with me. All of the boat crew is from the Philippines as well. In the video, actually, we also have a bantay dagat. So it's a bantay dagat going in the water with me, helping me carry the stuff as well, and assisting me in the lab. So it's very nice how you can involve at least one person that used to do illegal fishing, and now he just understands how you collect the corals, how you take them to a lab, and how you convert that into a result that hopefully in the future could become a conservation tool, So I think that's kind of like the nice thing of you coming from another place in the world and trying to work with locals. So that's Abantay Dagat on the right, and on the left it's Robert, which is the tuk-tuk driver. That is Junjun, which is our boatman. So that is very nice. Like when you get involved in the community, it's very nice. At the end of the day, I'm the only foreigner in the team. So yeah, you see, like just Remar helping me with absolutely everything. I think I'm very grateful for having that experience, because you actually get to teach people. And even the methodology I'm using, I think with the sea bass, you can take it to people, teach them how to use it, and then they could fully do it without a scientist involved.
Okay, I have
if I
sorry,
can
Chloe. Yeah.
something, yeah, because it's really nice because you're talking about the bantai dagat and working together, and me, my like diving buddy, it's also a bantai dagat. And and he's also very keen to learn, and at the end of our each dive it's like, okay, so what did we do today? I write it, so okay, ecological assessment, benthic cover, and he's like really keen to learn, so it's really nice to be able to share the knowledge also with the people around, and they are very interested and very motivated to protect the resource as well.
I have one final question kind of for you all. It's something which I always think about when I listen to a lot of restoration projects. What has been and both of them seem like a big success. So what has been the biggest challenge so far for the various restoration projects you have going on? Maybe we can go to Chloe, Fred, and Laura first.
Let's go.
For me, in my little timeline and small timeline, I think the most challenging part was the installation of the structure.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big thing, and to think about the different protocols to apply to how are we going to install this, how can we find a way to secure everything and to make it happen. But at the end, surprisingly, it was everything was great, and we didn't have any issue, luckily. But I think for now this was the most challenging in the internship, to think about the installation of the protocols and everything.
Well, maybe Laura, if you want to jump on it, yeah.
Yeah. In the long term, what will be challenging is to keep going on monitoring this structure, because it's something new, and if we want to convince people that it's working, we need to have more monitoring and then communication. And so it's a long-term process, and it will take a little bit of time, commitment from we need Chloe number 1, number 2, number 3, or just
more Mare students to come in the Sulubai.
Yeah.
And then it's also communication with the communities, and it's great because we train many divers in the communities, so they can come and witness, and there's nothing better, I guess, for them. But then there's also the authorities, so it's more like that.
And maybe Nicole?
Well, I haven't been working directly with restoration, but I think what is the hardest from it is, one, understanding the methods to use. Second, actually mitigating the stressors that took them to degrade at the beginning. I think for me,
First,
kind of like my biggest critique to some of the restoration programs is that they don't try to mitigate the stressors before actually doing an action. And then at the end, it just kind of becomes this burning of resources when we don't have many already. So I think that for me is the most challenging part of restoration, choosing where to do it and kind of finding those real conditions where you can do it, right? I think that's the most challenging here in the Philippines and everywhere in the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're approaching the end, a little bit over time already. So maybe for all of you, if you would like to give the audience a take-home message in just a few seconds. Coming back to you, Nicole.
That's a hard one, Christophe. But for me, don't be scared of helping. I know so many people that were not biologists at the beginning, and it is very fun. You can learn so much, and you can actually contribute to the world. So I hope this coral phobia ends someday, and a lot of people can help. So I think that's my message. Don't be scared of corals.
Maybe Laure?
Yeah, on this line, I would say, but it's more like something that Fred would say. Anyone can do something. That's the same line. Start small and maybe grow big, and you will do something. Any little drop is important.
Yeah, and don't be afraid about innovation also, and some things that haven't been done before. And Because at the beginning, when I did some literature reviews, there was pretty much nothing on the corridor and connectivity and this kind of thing, and I was like, but no, at the end, it's worth it. And just when you have an idea, just of course analyze everything to make it the less impact possible, but go for it and transform and make things happen.
So the last words are for you, Fred.
Yeah. It's a simple word for all of your youth leaders. Don't give up. We need your help. Don't give up.
We have a few crazy ones. We'll be there also during UNOC. So I hope to see you soon. All of you, Team Sulubai, of course. And if you want, you can. So in less than 30 minutes, we will be in Indonesia. So we're going to tackle some of these aspects with alumni Alexandra, currently year one students, Florence Lacrosse and Martin Colonelli on Coral Guardian. Thank you. Good spirit, good mindset. See you soon. Bye. Have a nice day. The Philippines.